Hi everyone, let's go over my bullish Elliott Wave scenarios on Bitcoin and do the bearish ones in the next video, but I'd like to start with this multi-year volume profile over here because we're about to close the second weekly candle inside the value area, which was acting as resistance for a while, but of course this could be positive for then continuation to the upside. In this scenario, we had resistance. This was support, but then it turned into resistance over here once, twice, and the third time we actually managed to pass it. Now, this is quite common for price to then retest this area before continuation with the value area low sitting at 31.3k and the horizontal support resistance area between 31.4 and 32.7k to then continue towards the upside, where we then have the point of control as very important resistance at 31.7k and secondly the value area high at 49.5k. If we then zoom in to the 12-hour time frame, then the bullish scenario over here was a three-wave corrective structure that is already finished to then continue the trend towards the upside. In this scenario, we are talking about a running flat, a 3-3 and then a 5-wave structure to the downside in an ABC, where wave C does not take the low of wave A, which is rare because most commonly you have an expanding flat, then you have a regular flat where wave C does take the low of wave A, and then you have the running flat, which is rare, especially on higher time frames. Now one could put wave A over here to the left, and now of course wave C did finish below wave A, but the problem now is that wave B by itself is a flat structure in an A, B and then a wave C, which is incredibly rare following the newest rules of Elliott Wave International. So therefore even a running flat is more common than that. So that is then the low over here, and you're going to be looking for price to move towards the upside in of course then a bullish impulsive structure. Now in this particular scenario, we are then looking for a 5-wave structure to the upside over here, where wave 3 might be finished with the high that it made over here. We are then also looking at the 3.618, which has been a target for a while for us because we also have additional resistance, which now is the white box over here at 36k. 35.9 to 36.2k was that target area, hit very nicely indeed. Now in this particular scenario, the 1.618 for a wave 3 is usually a minimum target. We had a little bit of a reaction. If the 1.618 is passed, the next target is the 2.618. Also here, price had a reaction with a big wick, eventually managed to close above, range on top of the 2.618, increasing probabilities to then go to the 3.618, which is of course where we are right now, potentially the high of 3 in after then a 5-wave structure. And if that's the case, we're going to be looking for a wave 4 to the downside over here, where the most common target for wave 4 is between the 302 and the 05, which is between 32.4 and 31.2k. The 0.236 is a little less common, which is sitting at 33.8k, and the invalidation is the 0.618 at 30.1k. Now what is interesting about this support area for a wave 4 over here, or this interesting area for a wave 4, is the confluence it has with that high time frame, weekly time frame, value area low, and the support resistance area, because you can see if price comes to the downside and hits the 302 and the 05 area, it is in perfect confluence with the high time frame support resistance area and the value area low of that multi-year volume profile. So we have strong support now in this area over here for then potentially that bounce to the upside to reach the point of control. And once the point of control is hit, we might finish a potential wave 5 and then a 3, looking for 4, looking for 5, for then a bigger wave 4 rejection going again to the downside. Value area low over here, support resistance area, before then once more continuation to the upside, because of course in the bullish scenario, you're looking for this to be another wave 1, then looking for a 3-wave corrective structure in 2, before then continuation to the upside for higher prices to come. If we then zoom in to this range over here and we go to the 30-minute time frame, then on this particular time frame there are only scenarios in the bullish scenario that have a corrective nature to the downside and not an impulsive nature to the downside, of course. Now this was a scenario I thought of yesterday, but becomes less likely now that it is weekend, because usually when it's weekend you don't really get strong impulses per se. But we were looking here for a potential WXY double zigzag ABC, then wave X and then another ABC. But of course, instead of a nice ABC down before the weekend hits, we actually started to range to the upside over here, potentially going to take these highs. We do have bullish CVD divergences, which would then lower the probabilities of this particular scenario, where we are then looking for WX and then a wave Y to the downside over here, for then continuation to the upside. The second scenario, however, is a WXY. I do like to open my target boxes for this one, because here we then have a wave W, which then is in this particular scenario a 3-wave structure, followed then by another 3-wave structure, potentially WXY in a wave X, which is allowed, and then a continuation to the downside in a wave Y, where important resistance for price above is 35.2k to 35.5k. So important area of resistance for price, for then potentially continuation to the downside. Now for this wave 4 on the higher time frame, right, if I open this once again, so potentially 3 is in and we're going to be looking for a wave 4, we could have still the potential of this being a 5-wave structure, even though wave 4 retraced to the golden pocket. It's something that I keep in mind. I don't have the scenario for that at the moment, because you could have a 5, 3, 5, a bigger ABC, and then eventually a structure like this, like a longer sideways range. But let's first see what price is going to do here. We know the resistance area, very important, and that is an area I do keep my eye on. Below price, we do have some support over here, a little bit of support. This is not the strongest area, between 34.3, 35.5, and then down here, this one is quite solid, 33.8k to 33.9k. And also, we do have a lot of liquidity. So in general, I am still looking for a move to the downside. Even if price moves up, all fine. Even if it would take the high, still looking for a move down, because the probabilities are it's a wave B for then a wave C down in this scenario. But we have over here a triple bottom, 1, 2, 3. That is actually quite rare. Probabilities are very high to eventually take the triple bottom. Then we also have a double bottom over here. We have a double bottom over here as well. And we then also, in confluence with this target box, have the value area low of this particular range. And then if price moves to the downside and hits all those liquidity areas, then we also have this key level, which is the high of a 1-hour gap. Zoom in. Over here you have the high, this is the 1-hour gap, and usually the top of a gap acts as support, and if it doesn't hold, you're then likely to fill the gap. But then we open again the high time frame value area low and the support resistance area, and you can see it is in perfect confluence with this area. So it's a very, very, very important area of support for price. If you're going to lose this area and you're going to start closing a daily candle and stuff down here, not good, right? It's not what we want to see in the bullish scenario. You definitely want to stay above, but testing it is something that is quite common. Now, if we then look at the CVD divergences, then over here we had a bearish CVD divergences building when price was moving to the downside, but at the moment we see mainly bullish CVD divergences building, higher low in price, lower low on the CVD. Also throughout this move to the upside, price moving up, CVD constantly moving down, as well as over here, higher low in price, lower low on the CVD, which already played out as price took this high over here. Now let me show you, visualize it over here. We had a higher low in price, but on yellow we had, as you can see over here, lower low on the yellow line, as well as on blue, even more clearly here on blue. Price moving to the upside, while yellow here constantly moving to the downside. So there's market selling going on, but it is being absorbed by limit long orders for then a push to the upside. But also blue over here in the end formed bullish CVD divergences with the low, higher low in price, lower low on the CVD. Now price is moving to the upside, where if it takes this high, pretty much looking really for this resistance area in general. Very interesting area of resistance. So that is definitely something that I keep my eye on. So if we then finally look at the probabilities of the different scenarios over here, the bullish, of course, scenarios, that is, then I actually have to look for my box over here. Then currently on the high time frame, looking for a retest of the value area low and the support resistance area that we have over here. If this is the high of 3, we might already be en route to the downside. However, a wave 3 can extend quite far. So even if we take this high, still then looking for eventually a wave 4 to the downside, of course, because at a certain moment in time, this wave 3 has to be finished, if not already. And then you are going to be looking for this wave 4, which even if you move the target of wave 3 a little bit to the upside, you have the confluence area of wave 4. Look, it's still the 382 and the 05 is going to be in confluence with this area, kind of like regardless. So I'm looking for a retest of that support resistance area with the value area low. Now on the micro over here, kind of like most of the scenarios are aiming towards eventually grabbing the triple bottom over here as well, which is very, very interesting because there's a lot of liquidity. Even if price moves to the upside over here, reaches the target box, could be interesting for a move to the downside. But also, even if it takes the high, potentially we get then a flat scenario. That's what I'm thinking about. So the triple bottom here, very, very interesting. And then in general, continuation to the upside, right? That is what we are eventually looking for. I hope this video was helpful or valuable to you. Please check out the most recent educational video I've made about the best trading indicator you can use, in my opinion, which is the CVD. And for now, thanks for watching and subscribing, and I'd like to see you at the next one. Bye bye.